All right, here we go with another video. C++, the return keyword. We have been learning about functions. Functions, the parameters you can use with functions, the arguments you can use with the function calls, default parameters. We had a minor issue where I couldn't figure out how to get, if you have a default value with two different parameters inside of a function, get the first one to print the default. The second one printing the default was not an issue at all. And then we realized that we skipped ahead a little bit and stuff, and there was a short section on multiple parameters, and we've already been doing that. So let's keep moving forward. We're going to go to the return keyword, return values. The void keyword used in the previous examples, which are, maybe I want to adjust that screen right there so you can see what I'm reading here. Sorry about that. So the void keyword, this one right here, used in previous examples, this is one of the previous examples, indicates that the function should not return a value. If you want the function to return a value, you can use a data type such as int or string, or integer and string, instead of void, and use the return keyword inside the function. So now we're going to learn about the different types of functions, and the fact that you can use a return keyword with different types. With void, you cannot. It will not return something back. I think in my later studies and stuff, I found that 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 may not be 100% accurate, but we'll wait until we get to that point to discover that again. As you can tell and stuff, that I'm still learning this stuff, and some of the stuff that have learned, I have forgotten, and I'm relearning it again. And it wasn't too long ago when I first learned about this the first time. Give me just a second. All right, sorry about that. So we'll get to that bridge when we cross it about return for void, but right now we're going to move on to a different type of function. So we've discovered function, we've discovered calls. Now we're going to discover different types of functions. This first example, we change the type from void to int or integer, and then we go ahead and clear out all of this parameter right here, and we change this to int. Now we could use int before in void and get it to print something out. Um, in fact, I'm not sure if it goes over this or not, but I'm going to go and cover this anyways. When the parameter doesn't have anything in that right there, it's considered a void. It's the same thing as typing this into this. I think I learned that previous to it. If you have a void function, you have void, it means it returns nothing. There's no parameter for it. But it's the same thing if you had void in there or if you don't have void in there. It's still the same. So if you don't have a parameter set for it, it's a void, or if it's empty, it's still a void, but you just don't have to use the word void in there. I think I learned that later on, but I'll correct myself later on when we get to that section and learn about that. For now, we are going to use the type int x. And so we are going to have to change this out because this would still print in a integer type function, but in this case, this example, we're not doing that. We're going to start using the keyword return. And in this case, it's going to be 5, get a 5 in there somewhere, plus x. And as with any statement inside the function or body or definition inside the function right here, we need to close off every statement with this. Now, the only time you've ever seen function before is down here in the main, and it's always got 0. Okay, so now we're kind of learning what this function is. As far as what this right here is, return 0, which means it's not going to return anything, as far as I can remember. But we'll get to that later because we get another source and stuff that kind of gives us a better explanation, better wording for this besides what I'm using. So now we got our function made from the example. We still got the same function call, but we're going to get rid of a few of these because we don't need all these. And in here, we are going to, in the main, actually, we can go ahead and get rid of this as well because our example does not have that. But in the main here, we are going to output my function. And we've already discussed parameters and arguments, but in this case and stuff, this is all about an integer. The parameter is set up for an integer. The argument is set up to return an integer. So we just need something in here and stuff to complete this. And in this example, they use 3. And we'll end that right there. Okay. Now it has a comment down below and stuff, but we're getting ready to see it now. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. So right now we have the function. We have a parameter set for integer x. We have a return, which means that this right here is actually going to return the result of this expression. If you want to return just 5, you can return just 5. If you want to return just x, you can return just x. And I'll kind of demonstrate that here in a minute. In this case, we're returning the result of, the result of a expression, 5 plus x. And since we have 3 set for the argument and the function name, 3 is going to replace x right here, which is also going to replace x right here. And then we're going to get 5 plus 3, which will be 8. So this right here, when we output it to the terminal, will end up becoming 8. And that's what we're doing. So let's run that and see it. And yes, that's what we get, 8. All that code for just one simple math problem. Why couldn't we just do this right here and here? Well, if you get more complicated coding and stuff, you might be able to use it to where you want to print out different things. You want another one of these right here that prints out something else. So we got 3 in the first one. We need 6 in the next one. We need 90 in the next one. We need 2 in that one. Save it. Run it. Unfortunately, it's all together. You can simply change that. Sorry about that. By changing this right here. Since this is the output right here, we can add the new line right here. Just like we've always been doing. Now, if we save it again, now it'll be on a new line every time. 8, 11, 95, and 7. Since this is the output right here. When the output was up here, we added a new line. We only had to add it once since we were calling the same function 4 different times. This time we were outputting the call of the function with our arguments in it. So that's the first example. The second example, this example returns the sum of a function with 2 parameters. Okay, so now we're going to add a second parameter to it. So besides just having x, we're also going to have y. Int y. There we go. And we're going to adjust this right here. We already know about this right here, so we can add in plus y. And in this case right here, now we got to add a second argument. So let's put in 6, 9, just making up whatever numbers, 34, and 6 again. Why not? So in this case right here, the 3 is going to replace x, the 6 is going to replace y. Same thing for the rest of these. So when it comes to here, you're going to have the 3, the 6, add those up together, 8, 14. So this is going to end up being 14 right here for this first one. We're going to save it, run it, and see what we get. There you go. The results for all of them. Now, what if you didn't have an argument in this? I could not remember how to do the argument for the first one, but we can set, like it was talking about before, a default value of 1 or whatever you want. Now, if we don't have anything in for this one right here, it'll still work. Save it, run it again, Now result becomes 96 for the second one, where it uses 1 instead of the 34. So we are practicing something we've learned previously. We are practicing the default parameters, the multiple parameters, and playing with the the function, creating a different type, putting in things. Can you do this with strings as well? Sure, why not? So let's change this right here to a string, standard string. We won't use X. We'll go ahead and use the names that we were using before. First name, and change all this to, again, standard string. Can you mix them? Yes, you can mix them as well. Last name, and now the return will end up being first name, let's see, I got that spelled right, yeah. And we got a problem right here, but we'll fix that because our parameters aren't set right, our arguments aren't set right. I'm trying to think here. Plus, actually, comma, last name. I think that's how it works. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of one of these. We don't need all these. We know how these work. We're just going to actually have 2 in here. Oops. Okay, and then we're going to change this right here to John Doe. Again, oops, it's a string. Gotta have the double quotes in there. John Doe and Jane Doe. Why not? Okay. We do still have a bit of an issue right here. I'm going to clear this terminal out. Go ahead and save it right there. Let's see what our issue is here. No suitable conversion function from standard string to int. Okay, so here's where this problem is. Since we are using an integer, our return actually has to be an integer. And it has not told us how to do anything else besides void and integers. So since we know we can change this from void to integer, why not just go and change the function as well? Standard string. I mean, it just makes sense, right? If you change it to a standard string, then it can return string values. Control save, run it. We get doe both times. Why do we get doe both times? Let's see here. So we got it saved where it's printing. Let's see if we can have it this way right here instead, because for some reason we're just getting the last name, we're not getting the first name. Plus, let's see what happens with that. So this is right here is where I'm kind of playing around with it and stuff to see how I can get this to work. There we go. We got Jane Doe and John Doe. The only downside is it's adding the 2 strings together. What if we put that in there? Plus, and there may be other ways of doing this. Control save, run the code again, and look at that. There may be other ways to do this. But yeah, I am discovering, learning as I'm going, playing with it, getting used to it, figuring out. I'm sure I'm going to discover a lot more stuff about this, but yeah. So I still had the plus in there like I did with the integers. I put a space in between them so it spaces them out in the terminal. I'll run this again so you can see it a little clearly. Jane Doe and John Doe with a space in between them. So I'm adding the first string to a space to a second string. Or first parameter to second parameter, or to a space to a second parameter. or a first argument to a space to a second argument. And that way we can have multiple ones. Again, if we set a default to the first one, I don't know how in the arguments you'd have to have something in there, and I just don't know what it is yet. I can't remember right off the top of my head if you set defaults. Anyways, moving on. So that was our second example right there, using two parameters in there, which is pretty much what the example was saying. Next, you can also store the result of a variable. So let's rewrite all this code. We have the output. Yep, we're going to rewrite all this code. So we're going to get rid of all this right here. We're still going to have it as an integer, so we're going to change this back to the integer it was. And we're going to change the parameters right here back to two different integers, int x, int y. And then we're also going to change this. So instead of having an actual value in there, we're adding the two together, x plus y. Okay, now for this example, you can also store the result of a variable. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is int z, assign it to my function, and set the parameters. So 5 is what you're using, as well as 3 for the second parameter in that statement right there. And then we're going to output z, and we've already got the rest of it in there, so the return. Okay, go ahead and save this real quick. So in this case right here, instead of actually outputting to my function with the two parameters, instead we are saving whatever this right here function runs into z and just printing out z. It is still the same thing as having this down here, but we're realizing that we can actually use another variable to store the entire thing, the same as what I was doing before, and just use that one variable. Now, here is where, in my opinion, that auto keyword that we've learned in many videos back comes in play. What if we have an integer and a boolean, or an integer and a string? Changing this right here to auto will help with that. Help, but not completely fix. This will allow the compiler to determine what these are, in this case, what this is going to be, especially if you are using a double right here, and then you change this to 3.5. It'll allow the auto the compiler to determine what it is. This, the only downside about this is this still won't work because we're using integer, even though we got a 3.5 right here and it's going up here. When we come down here, it'll do the math. It'll still drop off the decimal point and the value after the decimal point because it's an integer. We'd actually have to change this to either auto itself or a double. And obviously, as we can see, learning there, discovering auto will not work for this. So double we can do, since we got a double right here. We save it, we run it, and it should come up with what, 8.5? Yeah. We can also use a double right here, since we know it's going to return a double. Save, run it, 8.5 still. So not only can you use ints, you can use doubles, you can use strings. I mean, we're just going all around the whole type tree, the whole parameter tree, the whole argument tree, and I mean, using pretty much a lot of things we've already learned. And yeah, so we're doing a lot of different things right here. Moving on. Particular or practical example. Here's a simple and fun game example using a function with return to double a number 5 times. Okay, so let's turn this back into an integer. We're going to turn this, we're going to actually get rid of the second parameter here. We're going to change this to times 2 for the example. We don't need this anymore. Instead, we are going to add a for loop. For with the uh, 3 statements. Int I is 1, while I is less than or equal to 5, and then increment I. We've seen this before in other videos. And now we're going to readjust this right here so our output is first text double of whatever. Let's go ahead and go back to there. The operator I, the variable, another operator, another bit of text here is with some spaces in it. Another operator, double game. Now, why are we using double game right here? Well, there's something I just noticed that I is going to be the, yeah. When, I'm kind of spacing that out a little bit. Okay, so I got the example marked in here. I'm going to go and take this full screen. So first off, why are we using double game here when our function name is function name? Well, it's simple. We need either one, change the function name, or two, change the function call to my function. It doesn't matter which one, since this is what the example was using, so we'll just go ahead and put this in here as well. Double game. Okay. Now we're using I as a variable. It is a variable. Or using I for a variable and putting it in this variable, which is going in this variable and inside of another variable. We're going variable crazy right here, right? Well, I gotta add that to it too. Standard. There we go. Go ahead and save that too. Yeah, we're going variable crazy because we actually have that variable in this output twice. And then we have it up in here. Well, let's see. I is 1, so 1 is going to go right here. 1 is also going to go right here. So double of 1 is, and then we're going to run that 1 up into here, so it's going to be 1. And the return is going to be 1 times 2, so it's going to be 2. So this is going to be 2 down here. So double of 1 is going to be 2. And then we're going to come back in here and stuff, and while I is less than 5, less than or equal to 5, we're going to increment it 1. So we're going to actually have 5 printouts. 4 or 5, until I becomes equal to 5. Where I got this saved, let's run this right here, and yeah. Double of 1 is 2, double of 2 is 4, double of 3 is 6, double of 4 is 8, double of 5 is 10. And then it finally stops because it gets to I being equal to 5. So we're using this right here 5 different times in one single output and a for loop. And notice most of the time when we had for loops, we had curly brackets. In this case, we don't. That's why I said the if statements, the curly brackets for the loops, they don't always show up in the examples. So they're not always needed. Yeah. I was trying to think of what else it went with the for. So let's go back and refresh our mind on what else went with for. The for loop. We had for, which it did have curly brackets. We had nested for each. That was the other part of it. Maybe. Nope. But it still did have curly brackets. Yeah. Anyways, coming back down here to the functions. Oops, not that one. This one right here. Return values. That was pretty much the last example we had. So we're just exploring all kinds of different stuff right here. Discovering all kinds of different things right here we can do with this. And there's still more to discover too, because we've learned a lot and stuff, and we can use all kinds of different things with this right here. Mix and match a huge category of things. So, and we're not even getting into the details of all this stuff yet. I mean, we've gotten into a few details, but not all of them. But that's the end of this section. This one actually ran for about a half hour, which is fine. When we come back with our next video and stuff, we're going to do functions passed by reference. If you remember what reference is, it was using the AND operator, or otherwise known as the reference operator, that right there. So we're going to use functions and do pass by reference. And so instead of actually passing a variable or a value for the argument, sorry, we are going to uh, start passing whatever's in a specific location in the RAM. And it could be anything. So that'll be it for this video. Again, if I've said anything wrong, if you like the video, etc., etc., hit the like button, leave a comment, whatnot. It doesn't bother me whatsoever right now. I'm still discovering things, learning things, running through my journey, trying to get really good at C++, and I believe I'm getting better because yes, I'm exploring new options and stuff with some of this. Just give me an example, and I may change the example around however I see fit or however I can to continue learning how I can do this. And yes, you see me stumble occasionally, and I don't know how to get this done. I don't know how to do that. Maybe I'll learn it later. So, yep. Get through all this, discover it all. That's what it's all about. First, discover it all, then learn about it, then get into the details of it, and then you may have to go back and refresh your mind on some of it until you get really good at it. So, um, yeah. So I'll catch you in the next video. I think that's it for this video. We'll pick up right there with pass by reference. Till next time.